In aviation, South Africa's government and national airline are being sued by an investment firm which wants the sale of a majority stake in the carrier scrapped and returned because of a lack of transparency. This year's acquisition of 51% of South Africa Airways by the Takasto Consortium, made up of a local jet leasing company and a private equity firm, for just $3 was, quote, unlawful and constitutionally invalid, according to documents filed at a high court in Cape Town by Toto Investment Holdings Company Limited. Joining us to discuss further, CEO of Alpha African Advisory, Sayande Okoli. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Great to have you. So I guess beginning with South African Airways, the company that was described as bringing this lawsuit for was a little-known investment firm. Does that matter? Or what do you make of that?
Not really.
It doesn't, right?
I think the word that came to me with this story was accountability.
Yeah.
They had been interested in acquiring the majority stake in South African Airways, and they essentially didn't get a look in. And their issue was the lack of transparency with this process. And it was such that even the National Treasury has raised concerns that they weren't carried along. And given the history, we've spoken about South African Airways
all
a lot.
the time.
As you know, several of them former management staff have been implicated in the state capture probe that is going on. So there's a history of mismanagement, corruption, etc.
Yeah.
And I guess to their minds, this has just been an extension of that.
So I guess, I mean, you have a crystal ball, but you think there's a chance it gets reversed?
It's difficult to say, but I think it is good for the step to have been taken, because one of the challenges we face is impunity. And when an organization like this goes to the courts to say, actually, no, give some account for the process, it would make people think twice the next time. Because it's a very public case.
Indeed, it is.
It's a Bloomberg story.
Right, exactly. Okay, well, if you take all that aside, would it have been nice to have seen half of this company being taken over by a jet leasing company and a private equity firm? Would that have?
Well, you and I know, Lotus, that the government couldn't really afford to keep supporting this company. It hasn't made a profit since 2011, and it's been dependent on state aid. And the state, they just couldn't keep going. You know, how much do you keep pouring into what could be considered a black hole?
Gotcha.
So they do need to divest, and I know that there are different stakeholders, some of the ANC leaders, and other people who are against divestment, but I don't think they're really being pragmatic.
All right, let's move to Ghana. This company, Fido, raising $30 million in funding. We've seen tech stocks taking a beating. In fact, our last segment, we were just talking about the tech slowdown, how it might affect the African continent. I guess, is this encouraging, hearing this type of news amidst everything that's happening in tech? Absolutely,
it is encouraging. But there's always this question, say, for example, in Africa, not just in tech, but with businesses, is the issue lack of capital or lack of good deals?
Right.
Invariably, there's always money available for good transactions.
Right.
And when you have a slowdown such as this, what it just means is that you need higher quality transactions to be able to attract funding. Because the market isn't awash with cash, going after all sorts of transactions, both good and bad. You still think fintechs and banks can coexist happily ever after? Well, coexist, yes, they have to, because banks aren't going anywhere, certainly not in the immediate term, neither in fintech. Whether they'll be happily, I don't know. Okay, let's dive deeper into the whole fintech. Let's go into Binance and this deal with Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't know. I don't think I've ever asked you about NFTs or blockchain and all this stuff. What do you make of the deal between the two? I don't understand it, not because I can't read the words, but I must admit I am still struggling with the whole NFTs. Again, not because conceptually I don't understand it, but for me it's about intrinsic value. And I am somebody who, I was very much in the workplace during the dot-com bubble. And where actually it was my husband who kept saying, well, what's the business model? What's the underlying value? And so I saw what happened when that bubble burst.
Yeah.
And bottom line is you do need intrinsic value for something to be sustainable.
Right.
So a picture of you, Rotus, as wonderful as it is, just putting it on blockchain, really, how much value are we going to give? You know?
Yeah. Okay, but then this is big news. They've obviously paid him a lot of money. Who wins? Is it him, the celebrity, that wins here, or the company gets the brand affiliation from saying they've signed him? Does any of the benefits, are they outside the actual underlying item itself, the NFTs and blockchain? Is it more pomp and fanfare? So
in answer to your question, who wins? You've got to think about whether short term, medium term, or long term.
Yeah.
Ronaldo wins.
Right.
Right through, because he's got the cash.
Yeah.
Binance in the short term, yes, it's Ronaldo.
Right.
So it's definitely good in terms of publicity and marketing, et cetera, et cetera. How sustainable all this stuff is, well.
In fact, you know what, to that point, you've seen what's happened with cryptocurrencies. They've crashed. I mean, they were recovering a little bit, but Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of them, is that the reality of the concerns you're raising as to, is it that investors are now saying, well, maybe these things don't have as much value? What do you make of the crash that we've seen basically in the field?
I think it's an African proverb about water always finding its level.
Yeah.
In the long term, you need some kind of value to support a valuation. That really is so where there's intrinsic value, it's sustainable. Where there isn't, it isn't.
Gotcha. Okay, so as far as, let me take you back to, since we're all talking tech, the fintech, the FIDO deal, that deal. Are you still seeing growth? Are we going to see, forget NFTs now and blockchain, this is now back to the fintech company, the Ghanaian FIDO company. Are we still going to see growth there in that sector going forward?
I expect so, because they lend money. So they have a business model.
Right, so it's a perfect
they make money.
Yeah.
So I don't see why not.
Fantastic stuff. Does tech excite you? You like talking about tech?
Well, absolutely. I'm a little techpreneur myself.
Indeed, you are.
Working on something quietly. I'll talk to you about that hopefully in the next few weeks.
And we'll have you here to talk about it.
That would be great.
Sayande Okoli, CEO, Alpha African Advisory. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time.